My name is Matthew Fogg. I'm a retired Chief Deputy United States Marshal with 32 years of service. Came on in 1978. In 1989, I was on the front line of the drug war. LEAP didn't come along till a decade or more later. But what I was already probably in a LEAP mode early on, because in these operations, I began to see that it was very, very one-sided bias in its nature, who we were going after, the low-level guys, and who we were targeting. We were mainly targeting urban areas, and even when I brought the issue up, why are we specifically going into these areas, I was told that they're the weakest link. I mean, that's where we can get our numbers up. We need to get the public buy-in that we're really warring on drugs and we're making a difference. Of course, the agents and the cops and everybody involved in the drug war, we all knew that we weren't making a difference, and the numbers batted out. Statistics showed that we weren't making a difference. That is, more folks we locked up, the more folks took over the drug operations. As a matter of fact, the Marshal Service, it was my SWAT team, Special Operations Group, that actually went down and got Manuel Noriega after the Army arrested him down in Colombia, and our people went down and got him and brought him back to Miami for prosecution. Well, if you remember, I think that was like 1985, the word was out, well, the drugs are going to now be stopped coming into America the way they were coming into this country and everything. Well, as you know, after we locked up Manuel Noriega, 5 other Noriegas popped up. The drug lords began to pop up as they always did. And one of the things that I noticed, that when I saw that we were targeting just urban areas in all of these cities, I raised the question, why aren't we going out, for example, why aren't we going out to Potomac, Maryland, Springfield, Virginia, and places in other areas around the country? Why aren't we targeting the more affluent rural areas of America where drugs are? And according to the National Crime Control statistics, more drugs are being used in those areas than even in your urban areas. White America, middle class America, upper class America. And I never get it, because I was told by one of the special agents in charge, they told me, said, Fogg, you know, you're right, they are using drugs. And folks in my task force, I mean, we knew who in these particular areas were using these drugs. But we was told, you know what, and we go out there and we start targeting those individuals. Those, they know judges, they know lawyers, they know politicians, they know all of the big folks in government. And we start targeting them and their children, you know what's going to happen? We're going to get a phone call, and they're going to shut us down. You know that, Fogg? And you know what's going to happen? There goes your overtime. There's the money that you're making. So let's just go after the weakest link. Let's go after those who can't afford the attorneys, those who we can lock up, and whatever the prosecutor says they did, they have to plead out. And it was a vicious revolving door that led right to prison. And that's why we had the numbers that we have today. It was an obvious human rights violation. It was racial profiling. It was everything combined. And it's had a very, very negative effect on our society today. And I made it up in my mind, I'm not going to be a part of that. If it cost me my job and everything else, I will speak out and not be a part. And my message here is to other law enforcement officers. You can look around you. You know, you see the bias impact of this war on drugs. You see who we go after. And it's up to you to stand true to your oath and what you swore to uphold the Constitution of this country. It stands true for you to stand up and to take that position and say, I'm not doing this. If it's not going to be an equal enforcement opportunity operation, then it's unfair, it's unjust, it is already a violation of law before it even gets into place. To me, what this country has done is destroyed a whole decade, maybe 2 decades of young people, their families, and everyone. When you talk about the impact of that, how many people are in jail, being taken away from families, being split up, broken up, and everything else. When simply we understand that prohibition is not working, as it didn't work with alcohol nor tobacco. It never did work. And prohibition does not work. We find today, 40 years later, we find the drugs are more pure, the drugs are more accessible in prison and on the street. So that was one of the reasons why, when I saw that an organization like LEAP, that would have the audacity to go against the norm, the status quo, and come forward and speak out, and law enforcement officer that was working with me, we all knew it. It's just nobody wanted to speak out. And when I spoke out, right along with the rest of my career, there was retribution. I ultimately ended up going to trial on civil rights violations that occurred with me on the inside for my speaking out and blowing the whistle. And it wasn't just for the drugs, but it was just whistleblowing all the way around. When you're a police officer and you're sworn to uphold the Constitution of this country and you're sworn to serve and protect, it's your job, even if you see other officers doing things wrong, to speak out and to say, this isn't right. Well, but we understand there's a terminology called the blue wall of silence. It's in the federal, state, and local level. And if you see it and you know it's not correct and you speak out, then the system has a way of everybody turns on you, ostracize you, and before you know it, you won't even have backup on a stakeout. It's what happened to me. But it doesn't matter because I stood my ground and I happen to believe in a God that has protected me. So here it is, LEAP comes along, and I'm saying this is God sent. Because this is officers from all around the country, judges, lawyers, police officers, people that see that this human rights violation, this drug, this whole prohibition effect, it's only created more crime, more deaths, more murder. And it's important that we as law enforcement officers speak out against it. And LEAP is one of the ways that we have come together